Rishi Sunak has said it's his working assumption that the general election will be in the second half of this year, as predicted by us here on GB News. And as you'd expect, that's not gone down well at all with Sir Keir Starmer, who says the Prime Minister is effectively squatting in Downing Street. What a vision to conjure up. We'll hear from Starmer shortly, but first to Sunak, who was speaking publicly for the first time this year, and he's come under pressure from both Labour and the Lib Dems to go to the country in the spring, but it's likely that the country won't go to the polls that soon. So let's speak now to our political correspondent, Olivia Utley. Olivia, welcome to the show. Good afternoon. As predicted by us on this show, they're not going to go for an early start. And why would they? Why would a turkey vote for Christmas? It looks like it's going to be later in the year after all.
Well, absolutely. There are good reasons for Rishi Sunak to hold off calling a general election until later this year. A year ago yesterday, he made 5 pledges, made that speech in Stratford, and they've turned out to be a bit of a noose around his neck. Apart from halving inflation, he can't really point to any of them and say that it has been achieved. But there is a trajectory moving in the right direction on stopping the boats. There were 30% fewer Channel migrants arriving in 2023 compared to 2022. On growing the economy, the OBR has predicted that the economy will grow in the latter half of the decade. And even on NHS waiting lists reached an all-time high a couple of months ago at 7.7 million. But when these strikes are over, there are predictions that they could start to come down. So the thinking from Rishi Sunak is that if he holds off for as long as possible while interest rates start to go down and inflation starts to go down with it, the cost of living pressures will start to ease, and maybe, just maybe, people will thank the Conservatives for that. He didn't explain any of that today. This is all that he had to say.
My working assumption is we'll have a general election in the second half of this year, and in the meantime I've got lots that I want to get on with. This Saturday we'll be introducing a significant tax cut for millions of people in work, worth on average £450 for an average worker. Because we've halved inflation, we want to keep managing the economy well and cutting people's taxes, and I want to keep tackling illegal migration. And we cut the number of arrivals last year by over a third, but we've got more to do, and we want to get the Rwanda scheme through Parliament and up and running. So look, I've got plenty to get on with, and that's what I'm focused on doing, delivering for the British people.
So pretty definitive from Rishi Sunak there. No May general election. Will the public feel any more positive towards him come the autumn? We'll have to wait and see. We've got to gear up for a pretty long year of electioneering.
That's it. It's going to be a long, old year, but still great times for us as political journalists. Olivia Lee, thank you very much as ever. Now, as promised, to Sir Keir Starmer, who, like Sunak, has also been out and about today. The Labour leader's been in Bristol. And we can cross there now and speak to our political editor, Christopher Hope. Chris, good afternoon. So, yeah, I heard you were firing some fantastic questions at Starmer earlier. I particularly liked the one about your darts reference, Luke Littler. Will the voting age go down to 16? He appeared to indicate that it would.
Yeah, we'll come to that shortly. I mean, the big news rocking Westminster is this announcement from Rishi Sunak, as Olivia was setting out there, to journalists in the East Midlands. That was not expected because we thought that the speculation about when to call the election will be held tightly by Mr. Sunak. One of his big things as Prime Minister, a big power lever he's got, is when to call the election, and that's why the Tories got rid of this fixed-term Parliament Act that the Lib Dems had brought in. So we imagined he'd try and keep Labour hanging on because it's forcing Labour to be ready for an election which may not happen. Instead, he's indicated it will happen in the second half of this year. And that's, of course, prompted all sorts of critics to come out calling him a squatter. The Lib Dems have called him squatter Sunak. And Sir Keir Starmer had some words to say as well here in Bristol.
We're ready for an election. I think the country's ready for an election. Most people desperately want the chance to turn the page on 14 years of decline and usher in a decade of national renewal. If the Prime Minister is now hinting that it's going to be later in the year, then I think the question is, what's he hiding? Well, this is a serious issue for the country. If he can't name a date, then effectively he's just squatting. in Downing Street, holding the country back with his dithering and delaying. So he needs to come clean. What's he hiding? But I can tell you this, we're ready.
The idea of squatting is often labelled at PMs who haven't called the election, of course famously labelled at Gordon Brown in 2010 when he didn't leave Parliament until he had to call the election. I was wondering why the Tories have given away this advantage. What I understand is that the party chiefs got a bit alarmed by the speculation about the early election, triggered by the Treasury announcing the March the 6th date for the budget in a quiet period during Christmas and New Year, and that led to all sorts of runaway trains about when the election might be, and they wanted to bring it back to more where they are, stop being so carried away, because no one around Mr Sunak is saying an early election. As you said, Turkeys don't vote for Christmas, Martin. I'm here in Bristol because this is a seat which the Labour want to win from the Tories. It's a new seat created in the boundary changes, 5,500 notional majority. Often we see, don't we, in London, we view the South West as a kind of blue on yellow battleground, Tory versus Liberal Democrats, when in fact the Labour want to make a lot of ground here, and here's one of the seats outside Bristol they want to win back. The speech earlier from Mr Starmer, it was many big themes, New Year themes, talked about it's right to be cynical about Westminster politics, but it's time to get Britain's future back. He talked about Project Hope, credible hope, frank hope, but not Chris Hope, Martin. But he'd also, we tried to challenge him during question and answer about measures on tax. He says we'll try and cut taxes when we can afford to. He talked about the issue of maybe reversing any changes to IHT, inheritance tax, and also affording this £28 billion pledge on net zero measures when the economy will allow it. But I did ask a question for you, Martin, you in mind particularly, about the darts.
Last night, has Luke Littler's maturity and professionalism shown that 16-year-olds are ready to have a vote? The voting age should be cut from 99 to 88.
Firstly, Luke Littler, it's been incredible watching the darts, seeing what he has done. I'm not going to claim I watch darts every day. Everybody knows football is my game, but it has been quite an electrifying couple of days. And I'm a big believer in 16-year-olds being able to express their views, have their vote, and win darts tournaments. I thought he did brilliantly. I think everybody's incredibly proud of him as a 16-year-old, with real composure, actually, as well. To do that on that stage, in that way, just up the road from me in Ali Pali, was quite phenomenal, I thought.
Sir Keir Starmer there answering our question at GB News about the darts with an answer about football. But I'll let you think about that one, Martin. But in a sense, we did distract a concessionaire. It looks like 16-year-olds will get the vote in elections, general elections across the UK, if Labour win power.
Superb, Chris. A revealing day. Fantastic questions as ever. Looks like your prediction about the end of the year has come true. Mystic Hope calling it again. Thank you very much. Superb stuff.